Hello and welcome to what will likely be a very lengthy video since this is kind of a two-in-one. Uh, this is going to be allowed to post in the classroom and in this is going to be posted on YouTube at some point. If my memory serves, this is probably going to be uploaded on December either 23rd or 24th, 2024 for this project which I am making or which I have made less than a month prior to that date. So let me address my teacher, who I will not name just for safety because, this will be uploaded. You probably don't mind, but, you know, safety. So, first, yeah, like I said, this is going to be on YouTube, so you have my permission to show this not to just our class, but to future classes if you so desire. And not just this, just any part of the project, like the presentation or whatever. And then now addressing YouTube and teacher. First half of this video is three sections. This is section one. This is the introduction. Section two is going to be me going over the code, and then section three is me going through this visual novel that I have created. And now addressing YouTube because or I guess still addressing everybody. So yeah, I made a visual novel for this project. It's a short one for visual novel standards, and it's also pretty short as well. A short one is considered 2 hours or less, and this is like 30 minutes to go through, probably, maybe a little longer, because I made it, so I know what to do. There's a puzzle to this, so yeah. So now that's section one, I guess. So section two, going over the code and just talking about Ren'Py in general. So basically, in Ren'Py, you get a bunch of stuff. Not images, but not scripts either, but you get like this, basically. So obviously you can mess around with the GUI. That's a bit more of advanced other than like colors and stuff. Also, this project is like two parts. So one is basic Ren'Py, and then the eventual part two is going to be more advanced stuff. So that's why not doing some stuff for this. There's screens, which is kind of like basically all of this except for one of the things in the options I have messed with and the one thing I messed with in the options is I might not be able to find it because I forget what it's called. It's not even in the options. Uh, oh wait, yes it is. CPS, aka characters per second, or I think it's by millisecond or something like that. Basically, 0 means the text is printed out instantly. The 65 basically means it comes out in a typewritery kind of way. And then script, which I have edited heavily. This is kind of where the game starts. Like, there's probably an option to make it start on whatever file you want, but this is kind of where I have it started. uh, or that's where it defaultly starts, I mean. And originally there's an example of how to do characters, like what I have up here and that sort of thing. So since this is where it starts, I basically just define all my variables and that kind of thing because variables here are global. So basically, they can be found. So if I want to use this thinking character, which I've called it, it works. I could call it in any of these scripts, which I do. Same with the variables as well. So this is just my definition. So the way characters work, basically they have a string of or a few different attributes, and I guess so. This, if you just put a string in there, this is the name that will show up when they are speaking, like that. And these can be in any order from what I understand. So thinking means just raw string thinking means that that's the name that will show up when they are talking, and this will make more sense when I go into other parts of the code. And then you have other things. These are basically modifiers to the text itself. If you don't have what in front of them, then it will affect the name. So like I showed it, I put in the string in there, so their name would be thinking. If you don't have what underscore, it will affect that. If you do have what underscore, it affects the text. So whenever that character is speaking, their actual words will be, in this case, italic and this color, which is purple. And then I have a few different ones for what I was doing. And then these are just kind of like Python variables, basically. So we have a timer for something that I used in here. Then I had to do some loop variables, so there's two different loops, so I have two different ones, and then an I, which just resets. And then some booleans, and in Python, they are capital instead of lowercase. And then this can be anything. In this case, it's a string, none, but basically, because of how it works for asking for user input, it asks for a string, so this is a string, and then I convert it and try catch for any issues that will arise from that. And then basically you you jump to room one. So basically the way these work as well. Well, so these are variables, so they're fine out here, but anything that you actually want to display to the screen, like you want a character talking, it has to be inside of a label. And jumps basically jump to labels, and then returns get you out of labels, aka ending the game if you hit a return. So this jumps, so basically goes from this bit of code to up here, which goes down. So next we have scenes, which scenes are background images, and then this is the name of the image. So it looks inside the images folder, and scenes look for PNGs or JPGs or JPEGs rather, and you can call them like this. So you can call them with the spaces, and but you don't uh, call them with the extension. Now, this only works if the file is all lowercase. So if you have something uppercase and you want to keep it that way, or if you just want to save it in general, you would save it similar to this, except you would have the file name in there. And then say I just called it define room 1 without a space, I would just call it a variable instead of the actual file. Then this with dissolve is just a transition, so think of it kind of like a slideshow. And this is, since it's lowercase, this is a keyword. So dissolve keyword is 0.5 seconds, I believe. And then there's capital, so like dissolve class, which takes, so you could do also like this. So if you want to specify the time, you have to use a capital. And then you put a time in here, either yeah, fractional time it says between one and, or that's for time warp, but it takes a decimal or obviously an int. And that's the time in seconds that it will transition. So if you want anything other than 0.5, you have to do this. And so that would be 1.5 seconds of dissolve instead of 0 second, or 0.5 seconds rather. And then here, it's Python, so you use $sign for timer. I believe that's normal Python. Like I said, uh, I don't really know Python. I know Ren'Py basically. So, well, I don't know it, but I know more about it than just standard Python, I guess. Then plus, so I just add one to that, so that's for something that will that's not in this. And then if statement, that's also I believe just normal Python. So it's not like Java. So we do if, and then if not music playing, then I play this music. And I just did that because you switch between rooms, and I wanted the music to start after the room has shown up. So I could have done it in here, but the music would start before the scene. So, and then just if we want someone to talk and they don't have a name and don't have any special attributes to the text, you can just plain text like that without saying or specifying who's talking. So it's just plain text and it'll display to the screen. And then here we have another label, so labels can be nested. And if in a nested label, once you get to the end of it and there's no return, you just escape from it. Or yeah, I believe that's how it works. Yes, because you just escape from it, and then I have it so you jump back up there. So this is kind of like a loop. I could have done an actual loop, but for the way this worked, it makes more sense. And then we have another scene. And then here we have a menu, which brings up text, or text as options rather. So here, indents are very important. So you can see there's kind of like a 3 layers of indents. So here is what happens inside of the choice. So they're on the same level of indentation. Then here are the choices, and then here's where you're specifying that there's a menu in the first place. And these choices, they can't be empty. So say you want to do like a fake choice or whatever, like your choice doesn't matter kind of thing, you still have to have text inside of these or else it won't run. And you use these colons to specify, kind of like also with the if statement, it's all about colons instead of something like Java where it is curly brackets. And then you can see here these just take you to different rooms, but this is actually like the main meat of this. So here we have scene again, but you can also specify a zoom. So in this case, when you're inspecting, I zoom in a little bit to show that you're doing that. Then here we have it's very similar to like an inline CSS kind of, where it's basically a tag. So it's curly bracket, then what you want. So in this case, B, which means bold, and then you close it as well. And this should actually have, I have made a slight error. That should actually be slash. You can see down there. And then here we just have another menu, so obviously these can be nested as well. And also I forgot to mention, but there's comments as well, which are signified by the hashtag symbol or the pound sign, whatever you call it. And I don't think there's, oh right, there's thinking, so this is the character before, so you just put the name of the character, or the name of the variable of the character before what you want them to say, and then you just put it as like a quotes string. And then here's what I was talking about. This is input, so here's the variable, and then this is the built-in Ren'Py, I believe it is Ren'Py namespace. So it contains a bunch of functions that are part of Ren'Py, and in which case this is input, which takes input from the user. So basically, on the text box, it puts in a little, you know, blinking, I forget what that's specifically called, but blinking line to signify that you can type stuff in. And then I use an if statement to check if it's a digit, and then else, and that kind of thing. And then also here we have another variable, and there's nothing really else kind of new in there. And that's mostly kind of it, I think, when it comes to Ren'Py and its things that it can do other than, I think, yes, I have loop, which is also more Python than it is Ren'Py. Because this is supposed to be like a hello world, so I wanted to show kind of like the basics of Ren'Py, which include the basics of Python as well. Here we go, here's some new stuff. So once again, Ren'Py namespace, this time pause. So what this does, it takes it takes one or two, because hard false is default, so you would just put in the number. But basically, this is number in seconds of how long you want to pause for. So think Java dots or thread.sleep in Java, except for this is fine on any thread. And then hard equals true, which basically means that you can't skip this by like a clicking through, basically, to advance text. You see here it says yes, I'll be with you, and then if you want to go to the next bit, you click or you press the space bar. This makes it so it can't do that for this pause, so it won't skip the pause. And here you can see there's another loop, more text. Just so yeah, that's probably it. There's play music again, and here you can see I didn't mention before, but there's fade in and also music. You can't oh, excuse me for a moment. For music, you cannot just do like how you do images where you just call it like this file is captivate sukehime.mp3. So I couldn't do it like how I was showing with the images where I would just do captivate sukehime. You have to actually specify the file. It does still look in the uh, audio folder though. And see, you also have to do the file type, but you can also do how I mentioned where you define a piece of music and have it as a variable and call that variable instead. And then also it can fade in and then stop music, fade out. And Ren'Py, this I didn't use any of the other ones, but this is kind of a good thing to mention. Ren'Py has 3 audio channels. So there's music, which I use, and but then there's also sound and voice. So sound and voice are specifically for shorter uh, pieces of audio, as you might expect. But I think you can still technically use anything. It's just you really shouldn't. And basically, it means that at any given time, you can have 3 different pieces of audio playing, one on the music channel, one on the sound channel, and one on the voice channel. So that's kind of so you can't have 2 pieces of music playing at the same time unless you cheat, I guess would be the word, by putting a piece of music on the voice channel, but then obviously you can't have characters saying anything. Like you can't have voice acting during that time because a piece of music is using that section or using that channel. So yeah, I really don't think. Well, I said that like the last 2 times, but then I found new things to talk about. So I'm just gonna go through, but really I actually don't think the rest of the stuff is pretty. These are like the endings, which I guess if you want to. Nah, I guess if you're watching this, you probably expect to be spoiled, but don't look at the screen too long, I guess. And yeah, so that is the code of this. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about before I get into actually playing this. So yeah, audio in the audio folder. Uh, don't do fonts. That's a little more. It's not extremely complicated, but it's a little more complicated from what I understand. So that'll be a next time kind of thing. And yeah, saves. These are all handled by Ren'Py itself. Basically, I mean, obviously, just writing text in here doesn't mean in any other kind of language wouldn't make something show up on the screen. So Ren'Py does a lot of the heavy lifting, but obviously you still have to, like, for the most part, or if you want to do more complicated things, you do have to have good understanding of programming to make this work how you would like. And obviously, if you want good code, you obviously have to have a good understanding of programming. So next, I guess I'll go kind of brief intermission. I'll just show the Ren'Py launcher. Uh, so yeah, these are like test projects basically to understand this. Uh, so I didn't really do much in any of those. These 2 are built-in ones, so tutorial is an actual tutorial that is a visual novel. And then question is just like an actual example, so tutorial example. And then here, all sorts of stuff. So obviously make new project. You can go straight to the documentation, which is extreme. Like the documentation for this is absolutely incredible, I must say. sponsor information, the actual like website, but not the documentation, just information on this version, update this version, preferences, so what language, that kind of thing, quit, obviously. Then here, it's on the active project. So you can open any of the directories and these specific files. So basically the default RPY files that you're given. And then you can just open the project itself. You can navigate the script, check the script, update the GUI, delete persistent, which is basically like the variables, and recompile, which is also kind of similar. And then here's where you build. So you can make translations. I think the way, like obviously I'm probably never going to mess with this because I only know one language and I don't, I mean, maybe I'll learn one, but that isn't as simple as it may seem. Basically, it's not like you take all the text and then it auto translates it. I'm pretty sure you have to actually like have a library. And then extract dialogue, so it just gets all the text out. And then these are specific builds that take a little bit more work. You have to download extra stuff for these, and then if you click build distributions, I'll just scan it really quick. These are like very simple. All you have to do is literally click what build distributions you want, build, and these are on by default because you typically want these. And then also there's some extra stuff where you can edit stuff before you upload it, and you can upload to itch.io, which is kind of like a indie, or not indie, but like a small-ish website that a lot of people post their games on. And then launch project specifically does in development mode. So for example, you can do shift, or when you open it, you can do shift R, which basically means whenever you save something, the game will reload to implement that change. But yeah, now coding section over. Now onto game. I'm not going to read the text itself, but I will give you the chance to read it. My voice is just going a little bit. But I guess first I'll just show. So this is all kind of default. So help, which shows controls for basically everything you would use on this build. Just stepping back for a minute, this build is for Windows and Linux. So this is kind of the controls for just those, obviously. About, which gives you information on the game, what version it was used, and this program uses free software, including, yeah. And then, of course, information. So you can click Ren'Py, you can click your preferences, which are settings, so music volume. You can skip stuff if you've seen. So typically, the way it works, if you've seen a piece of text before, you're allowed to skip it. But maybe you've played this, but you deleted it and then re-downloaded it, so you want to skip text that you haven't seen before, that kind of thing. Load, save files. This is the build, or this is the still technically the dev version, so there are save files from when I was testing, and now let's actually start. And you can see that it's here. So this is a puzzle kind of thing. So what you're supposed to do is, here we have, well, it's visual novels, so story based. You kind of look around, learn about the people, which are the player, narrator, and just, yeah, just learn the story. I really don't know how to describe it without just doing it. So yeah, this is kind of developer commentary, I guess. Also, I'm not an artist. And kind of one of the tricks, because visual novels are often really cheap and expected to be made in a relatively short amount of time. So one of kind of the tricks they would do is their backgrounds would be real life images, heavily edited. So I kind of inspired by that due to my very much lack of time, which I'm not complaining about. It's just, yeah, I don't have much time, but might as well do it that way. And also, where is this? Also, I'm not an artist, so puzzle. So basically, there are 4 rooms in the beginning. There's kind of like an obscure-ish way to get a number in each one of them, and I'm kind of showing you how to do that for this section. And then this section specifically also tells you the order of the numbers. And then you come back here and get the case, which is at the back of the actual option, which I described as here. And then put in the number, and the game progresses, and then it kind of ends not long after that. But there are 3 endings. It's just very obvious what the good ending is, or how it gets to the good ending, I guess. So this is what I mean. So I hate the direction clocks go, all 4 of them. So I think that's pretty obvious, kind of what it is. It's not obvious right away, I guess, because right away you use 4 rooms, but obviously you have to rotate right and rotate left, so the order should be very clear right away. And then once you do all the rooms, there's 4 of them, and you got to go each one. You don't have to actually check them in that order. It's just that's the order that the numbers you get are. So that first one was 4, so I'll actually, yeah, because I kind of did it so that this is the order, like going clockwise is kind of the order you're supposed to go, obviously. You still can go whatever order you want, but then rotate left, so going counterclockwise is the actual solution. And also the reason why I kind of rotate right is that the correct-ish way is that's just the order that I would do. So I'll do set players will show and I was originally, since it's this short, I was going to show all the text, but no, I'm not gonna. I'll just show like kind of the solution to the puzzle, I guess, if you're stuck. And then yeah, either you're gonna watch it and this is something I do not care about, or you're going to play it and actually like you'll want to all of it. It just makes more sense that way, I guess. The only thing in here that is not mine, I have done this in some way, is the music, because I use stock music, and music from the anime series Ren'Py, which I just really like the music of. And for something that is really a forefront project and not making money off of it, I'm not like promoting it, I'm sharing it. I think that's fine. We're all do whatever I need to do. That's not also, I guess, kind of like a comedy reason why that music is because I really like that anime series where the joke that it doesn't exist. So I guess Choki can't get claimed on something that's not this. But obviously it's not what it is. So yeah, you can see where you're supposed to fix this. But obviously you don't know how to do that. Yeah, just thinking of words that telling them what the puzzle is right away, so that she just stops thinking and how to go through that. Yeah, these images are kind of from my work. That's quite the work from my work. So as you can see, I'm said, that's kind of just my thought process, just kind of looking around the room, seeing kind of what creativity you can get out of that. I think I've kind of got something very creative out of, the place that I'm in, like every day. It's kind of, I guess, it's just cathartic, I guess, that these sites are the same every day, and I still got something like weird and unique out of it. And then here's the next number that I just realized I'm not even recording anymore, but yeah, if you read the text, you'll understand that. That's fine. I'll just check another place just to show you more of the text, I guess. Also, I won't show all the endings either. The bad endings are kind of short and obvious, like I mentioned. And not, I wouldn't say they were an afterthought, but they were kind of just like, oh, I'm in this place, the choice that I want to make here, it doesn't really make sense for them to have a choice and they're both into the same thing. So here's where you get the third number in order, or no, the second number in order. Also, this is just called What Strikes You because that phrase came into my head as like what you're being asked when a choice comes up, and as you just saw. And originally, that's not what the game was called, but I didn't originally call the or the thing I made for class the visual novel, something like that. And I just wanted something more interesting. And I realized I had this phrase. It doesn't really mean anything per se. It's just kind of like a very nice kind of punchy phrase. What strikes you? That's not to say that there wasn't meaning behind this, but when it comes to my thought process for creating lots of things, not code per se, but still sometimes for code, which is very good. You realize what I'm about to say, but sometimes my process is just, I'm not thinking, I'm just writing until, my head, like, I'm just writing until I have something I'm happy with, and then I'll clean it up after. And sometimes I'm like straight up, for example, for this, sometimes I would straight up be writing one sentence, not knowing where the next one's gonna go. And then this one is probably definitely doesn't make sense. This one of the four is definitely the most obscure of how you get the answer, but I think in the text it's very clear. Like the player asks the narrator to count the number of times they've been on the gravel path. It's just slightly less clear in the text than I described it, but I think it's still clear enough. That's what you're supposed to do to get the number for that area. And now you have all the numbers. You don't actually have to get them. You don't have to get the first to know the code. But like I said, I just wanted to show this off, just not show everything of it. Now we're going to do the case, and then say that you did. So it is. Oh, I'm trying to mute myself now. I know the last numbers were. I just can't remember the first numbers, but it is. That's the last one that I did. Because it's number 7. No. It's number 8. 7. 4. I can't remember what the first one is. It's my own game. Hold on a second. It was 3 because when you check the piggy have to become a case, the only thing that's ambiguous as to what you're supposed to do with it is the error. My goodness, good thing I checked that. I forgot to rename a variable. That's why that happened. So like I said, good thing I'm doing this video because that's something I would not like obviously I didn't check it, but that's something I do need to compile after I'm done this. So I'm going to be right back just to double check. Yes, it's all good now because basically originally there is when you check the music box, there was basically two different pieces of music you could pick. So there was two different variables, but now I changed it so that there was only one. When I just fixed it, I forgot to do if not for an if statement instead of just I did if variable instead of not. So now I'm gonna check this. I think it is fine now because the variable has been checked off. But what I will do is just restart this just to make absolutely sure. Alright, let's see. Yeah, here we go. This is how it's supposed to play out after you've gotten to the bottom. And then the text we were seeing was if you check it out again after you've already seen this text that you're seeing now, it didn't make sense for this specific text to be repeated. So now you can change it. But yeah, that's kind of like hard to fix issues like that. Like they don't catch don't have your code. That's happening, and I personal project that Ren'Py. Most of my friends are into programming there, but I don't know, maybe they're not that program class, but yeah, I'll just show now how to now that and now this is kind of the end game. So the timer that I showed is number of times, not technically a timer, but number of times around. So basically, when you take it, look around, just don't have to do anything, and then the next selection that so then after you move around a lot, different text out the end of the game. So here, say no, that's the first of that ending. So you have to yes, continue on, good ending. something makes you want to say no. If you say yes, so this is just where we sit. So if you say yes to any ending, that's the next bad ending. That is the, I feel like that's the only part that I would consider a little bit trial and error-y, while also being unforgiving. And also, yes, the music is supposed to cut out because it's supposed to be a little more creepy-ish, I guess. But yeah, this is the only part that I would say is a little bit trial and error-ish. But this game is very short, and also you can save at any point, so you could just save beforehand if you're not sure. And then here you can see you've escaped the infinite walk, and this is the ending. So yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit honest and say I didn't really know how to end this, but I think kind of with the text. Basically, I originally didn't know how to end this, but that's not to say that this doesn't mean anything. There is kind of like an implied kind of what this does mean something basically, and what it does mean is up to you. But there is intent there. I have an answer to that question. I'm just not going to answer it because it makes this less interesting, if you ask me. And then this is the ending, the credits, and also this is the good ending. It's the only one where there's a background image and a music playing over the credits, which I thought was kind of a warm ending, a warm way to end the ending for the good ending. So yeah, that's the game I made for Project. Uh, for part two of this, which for you on YouTube will be tomorrow, probably, and then will be next week for the actual class project. I I don't think I'll be adding anything to the story, but I will be going more in depth with likely the GUI because I didn't touch any of that font, which is technically a part of that, and just some other ideas I have to go further with this. I have one specific idea, but I just don't want to say it because one, I don't know if it'll work out, and two, I just kind of don't want to spoil it. But yeah, that's this video on both YouTube and in Classroom. It is quite the long one, but obviously it's very likely that you're probably only interested in either the code or only interested in the game itself. So that kind of cuts it down by half. But yeah, uh, that's all, folks.